Okay, so we're going to start with, this is the video for the single pinch pot method, so if you're not doing anything too tall or a little container, this is the method for you. So what you need is like what you're going to be working on, like what you're going to store your project on. So for me, this is just a piece of like scrap floor tiling that we cut up so that I could use the extras for these boards. Then you're going to need some clay, and the amount of clay you need really just depends on what it is you're making, how big you want it to be. So I'm going to make like a little llama guy for mine. So I'm going to cut out kind of a big-ish chunk. And when you're cutting your clay, I just have my butter knife, and I'm just going to kind of cut out a cube of clay. And that's pretty good for the start. This will make a pretty big pinch pot. And notice I'm closing this up right away. I'm not letting any extra air get in there. And then I'm just going to start getting this into a circle to start with. So quite forcefully using the curves of my hand to get it into a nice ball. Well, then I'm simply going to just start pinching it. So the pinch method is just pinching the clay, getting a good feel for it. So thumb goes in, and then I'm going to use my fingers like this to squeeze all the way around. So squeeze, rotate. You don't want to like do this on the table and like squeeze, and then you end up with a flat butt that you can't control the shape. So we're going to keep it in our hands while we just start to gradually open up this ball of clay. So I'm just rotating and overlapping. You see my little finger marks? So I'm kind of using those as my guide as I go. And then just slowly moving up the form, because I do want to try to keep this even throughout. So keeping the same pressure, the same kind of rotation. So that's my start. It does have lots of finger marks on it. And I'm now just going to go through and feel like where is it a little thicker and just kind of squeeze things to make it consistent. This will make my job much easier if I do this now while my clay is soft and malleable than trying to fix it later. This is something I'm looking for in terms of craftsmanship, is that it is even throughout. This will reduce cracking, so if you have a nice even piece, you should not get any cracking while it dries. And it just makes your piece, it is a functional piece, so you don't want things to be super heavy. So I'm just going through now, gently kind of do the rim. I'm not too worried if my rim's uneven at this point, like if it's taller and lower. I'm just worried about the thickness right now. So that's about a quarter of an inch. So now we want to decide, like, what do we need this shape to be? Do I need it to be more rounded? Do I want it to actually be taller and more cylindrical? What do I want to do with this? Do I need to have like maybe just a dent on one side? Like do I need to look like that? Because at this point, when it's nice and soft like this is when you're going to make those changes to the shape. Now for me, I'm going to make a little llama, so his head is going to be like here, and his legs down here. So this shape's pretty good, but I want to show you how you can paddle out some of these, finger marks here from the pinch method and alter the shape if you need to. So our slab rolling sticks also work as a nice paddle. And again, you notice I'm not setting this down to do these things because I don't want my clay to form, itself into a shape without me controlling it. So now I'm going to take my little sticks. I'm just going to start to paddle over the surface to remove any lumps. So you can kind of see here, you can see that I'm starting to get rid of these finger bumps by paddling. And I can also, change the shape of this. If I want it to be more round, I can be a little more aggressive with my paddles and kind of round that back out. But what this is also doing, though, take note that as I push the clay down to round it, it's getting thicker on the inside, so I might want to come back later and thin that back out. So just kind of think of these things. You know, this clay isn't disappearing, it's just getting compressed into a different area. I'm just doing some more gentle ones to get rid of these. So just worrying about the shape right now. So you can start to see, like, you're seeing less and less of those finger lumps now. There's still some there, but they're not as drastic. So then the other thing you could do to help get rid of those, and I'm going to place mine on the rim. You can take the rib tool that we made, and you know, whenever you hold a rib tool, your thumb is here, these two fingers, and you create a curve so that you're actually scraping things away. So I'm just going to drag this kind of gently, because I don't have any big marks, but just trying to get any of those tool marks away. It's going to start taking some clay off. You can just wipe it as you go. And like here I have some creases, you see those? So then I'm going to, you know, going with the shape of my pot, a little curve. Now I shouldn't be adding like more lumps to this. What I'm trying to do is eliminate any lumps and creases and wrinkles in the clay. So be sure you're taking any excess clay off as you go. And it's not going to be perfect on day one. You know, we're just trying to get the shape how we want it. And then when I set it down, it did, you know, kind of squish my rim a little bit. So I always want to make sure I address those things because my rim is the first thing that's going to dry out. So I want it to be pretty much how I want it at all times so that it doesn't dry out too quickly on me before I can make those changes. And then like I said, it probably got a little thicker at the bottom from me paddling that. So you can take your loop tool that you made and I'm holding it in my hand again, not on the table where it can get flat, and I'm just going to take it and scoop clay out of the bottom just to make sure it's nice and thin and it won't crack on me. So you can see I'm starting to scoop that out. And another reason I hold it in my hand is I can then feel if I'm getting, you know, too thin. Okay, so that's possible too. I just want to get it nice and even, and I know that it got thicker down there because I paddled it in. And all these little things that you're scooping out, I would just put them right back in put it in your slip container, and these will just help grow your slip throughout the semester so that hopefully you don't have to make it more than once. If you start getting more clay, you just add a little more water to your slip, and that will help turn it into some nice, you know, the right consistency slip that we need. So the first day or first couple days, we want our clay to stay nice and soft until we are happy with the shape and the thickness of our piece. Okay, because if it gets too hard, we're not going to be able to change the shape or remove clay from the inside. So like if you wanted yours to be a cube, you would need to paddle it into a cube at this point. So I'm just working to thin that out. And then you see it has created some tool marks that ideally I can just smooth away while the clay is soft with my hand. If not, I can take my curved rib tool that we created, and while it's in my hand, smooth those away. And that's taking off quite a bit of clay too, so I go ahead and scrape that off. And this might be when you might want to adjust how you cut your rib tool. Maybe you need it to be, you know, narrower on one side so that you can get it into some of our smaller curved pots. But again, keeping it in your hand as often as you can, especially if it's going to help maintain the shape you're going for. If I wanted a square pot, then yeah, I could set this down and let it sit, that's going to help it be a square. But that's not what I want. Alright, so I have pretty smooth on the inside. Again, it's not perfect, but I do want to fix this rim. Just so it's nice and thin, especially on the part that everyone's going to see, which is the rim. Okay? Now, I'm not worried that it's not even. When this is stiffer, my clay is stiffer, I can take my knife and cut it down. If I tried to cut it now, it would just totally manipulate my shape. So now, I can start doing some attachments. So I'm now going to set it down now that I kind of have the shape. Okay. So I'm going to need a little more clay. And then this is just where like your personal choice comes into play about what you're adding, how you're going to create textures and things like that. Now, obviously, you're probably not going to continue working on a project for 5 hours straight just to get it done. So this might be the next day for you. So I would want mine, since I'm going to be doing attachments, I need mine to stay leather soft. So what I'm going to do when I put it away until I'm ready to work on it, so I'm going to put a plastic bag down. I'm going to put my piece inside the plastic bag. I'm going to spray it with water and then tuck this bag in and around my shape so that like no air can get to this to dry it out. Okay, and then it's going to stay exactly how I wanted it. Now, if my designs are based mainly off of carvings, you're going to want to let yours get leather hard when you're ready for that stage. So I would recommend wrapping it without any water and maybe opening it for like an hour a day or so till it does get leather hard. And then once it's leather hard, you would spray and bag it daily to maintain it at that state. Okay? But like I said, I want mine to stay leather soft so I can continue working on it.